Do 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 do. Shoobity doo doo doo. Want to know what cheat program you're using, Canadian Fuhrer? What's the program, dude? How did you hack the botnet? I need to know. Paul, do you like Little Mosey? Yes, I do. I do indeed. Pretentious edge filter, activate, yes. Sad comment that almost went totally unnoticed and almost wasted 5 seconds of your life, activate. Boo. Hey there, everybody. Howdy. Howdy. Warm beans? Fuck you, man. You don't know how it is. You don't know what's what. In the stream? No. You know how it is. Ups and downs. Strikes and gutters. First smoke of the day with Paul. Sure. Do you believe in the free market? Nobody's ever demonstrated a totally free market, nor have we examined what would happen. Now, we have some indications. We know as markets get freer, certain things start to happen, but we've never seen a totally free market. So no. Do I believe that the free market will solve all the problems if you just leave it alone? No. No, sir. Children singing songs in the distance. Ever worked a desk job? No. I've had a job where I had desks and had work that I had to do at desks, but never a job that I would say is a desk job, meaning that I report to the same desk every day and sit at the desk all day. No. I guess the closest to a desk job I would have had would have been my tenure as a technology specialist for the school district. I had little office areas at some of the schools. Some of the schools repurposed those areas for storage or other things, but at some of my schools I had a little office area where I could go and sit and fix something or take a break or something. You could live for 3,000 years, would you? Depending on the rules, sure. Like that, you know, it can't be like if I get crushed by a boulder or drowned or fall into the ocean and drown, I'm still alive down there for 3,000 years suffering. That sucks. That's that whole like be careful what you wish for thing. I'd have to work out the particulars, but if the particulars were you'd live 3,000 years, assuming nobody kills you or, you know, like you're still mortal, but you just won't die of natural causes for 3,000 years, I'd be like, okay, sure, why not? One less thing to worry about, you know what I mean? Be interesting to see what happens to humanity in the next 3,000 years. You know, our lifespans are so short. It's part of the problem I think that we have. You know, with divisiveness in politics and stuff, is that all of us have been here, and I mean all of us, like even up until the oldest man or woman alive on the planet, all of us have been here such a profoundly short amount of time. When given the length and breadth of just human civilizational history, you know, let's set aside our fucking genetic history, that, you know, what I'm saying is that short lifespan makes us tend to want things faster and makes us tend to feel like that there's a more of an impetus to fight one another and people that don't believe the same way that they do, because you have such a short time to see those things enacted. And I think it's one of the, you know, one of the major downsides of our political system. When I say our, I mean here in America. I won't speak for everyone else. I doubt we're going to have much time left the way the world's running. I mean, it depends, right? On a lot of things, from where I sit at least. How we go out. So we've got a long time here if how we go out is long, slow societal degradation, environmental degradation at the pace it's going now. It's going to be quite a few lifetimes before there's not a human being left on the planet, and we may actually be able to find some kind of a soft landing out of that and start rebuilding a population after a collapse of that kind. If you're talking about all-out thermonuclear war, well, our survival chances are more limited in that scenario. If you're talking about like a big meteor impact or something, some kind of cosmic event that we don't see coming, gamma ray burst or some shit, you know, there's not really much of a chance that a human being is going to survive any of that. So it all kind of depends, don't it? From where I sit, nuclear war becomes more likely the more desperate people get. So the worse things get societally speaking, the worse the economy gets, the worse, you know, this kind of transfer of wealth from the bottom up gets, the more power lies in the hands of moneyed interests, the likelihood of nuclear war goes up, 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 and the worse things get once the collapse starts. I just don't see a scenario in which those missiles aren't launched. That's the scary thing for me, is honestly, like, you know, we could do this whole collapse thing. It's like the Romans, right? Rome collapsed under the weight of its own hypocrisy, greed, and expansionism. But the people of Rome, by and large, were able to bounce back from that and carve something else out. And that's because Rome didn't have a big fucking nuke that destroyed everything, you know, when they started to lose. We've got these weapons now. And it's like, what's going to happen when America starts to lose its grip, its hegemony in the world, and people start testing us militarily? There's going to be an element of advisors, both military and political, that are going to be saying we need to have the strongest possible response. If we show weakness in this, if we show tepidness in this, then that's going to, you know, betray what trouble we're really in. We need to nuke this place. And if that happens, well, everybody launches and it's over. Do you agree with the Norwegian prison system, i.e. max 21-year sentence, internet, kitchenette, rehabilitation, trade skill training, or do you think it needs to be more harsh in the U.S.? That's a tough question for me. A lot of liberals like to ride this, well, we should make our prisons just like they are in Sweden. But the truth of the matter is that Sweden is not dealing with the type of criminality, at least by and large, that we're dealing with here in America. They have the same kinds of crimes, but not the amount. So I don't know if I believe that a system that's based solely around that would work. I just don't see a workable way to transition to that in America, is what I'm saying. And on top of that, I'm not 100% sure that our societies are similar enough to judge whether or not something like that would even take root and work here. I don't know. The truth is, I don't know enough about the Swedish and, you know, penal system or any of the Nordic countries that seem to have a more progressive thing. And I always hesitate in jumping on the bandwagon as a leftist when I don't really know much about it. I mean, I know those things that you said, you know, max sentences, rehabilitation focus, you know, providing a measure of comfort for these people and giving them something to do other than just rotting in their cells all day. I'm for all that. I just don't know how we go from what we have now to that. It's going to have to be like a total sea change, a total rewriting of the justice code. Because right now, the system of justice has been subverted for so many years in a row by private prison companies and the prison guard unions that are supported by them. All of these laws, these mandatory minimum sentences, these 3-strike laws, all of these laws had the private prison industry behind them. And they've rewritten our code of law to the point where it's just absurd. You go to jail for anything. And, they keep you in jail for longer and longer. And drug offenses are especially egregious. It's just retarded. It's completely written by a system that needs a constant crop of fresh prisoners in order to justify its existence. And those are the people that have the money, thus the influence to write the law. I just don't even see how we transition from that to a system that's more humane without rewriting our entire system of justice, like all of our laws, and coming up with a standard that makes more sense. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that it seems to be doing its job in Sweden and in areas where that type of quote-unquote prison system, because I guess it is at the heart of it a prison sentence, but to me it's way more like mandatory rehabilitation, which is fine by me. I know that there are a lot of people rotting in a prison cell right now that would benefit from that kind of environment immensely and might come out of it a worthwhile member of society. American prisons are fucked, man. They breed criminality rather than dissuade it. When you go to prison, oftentimes that's really when you learn to be a real criminal, because you meet all the other criminals. And you gain knowledge and connections that allow you to be a better criminal when you get out of the joint. And the cycle continues. The recidivistic cycle of the American prisoner continues. So American prisons are actually counterproductive. Not only are they overly harsh and I think by any measure overly stuffed with people, but they actually do the opposite of discouraging criminality. People, might go into prison as small-time pot dealers and come out of prison as hardened fucking criminals, members of a gang that are ready to start robbing people or ready to take their drug operation to the next level because they've got all these new connections and shit. It's just, they sow the seeds of more criminality. And if you think about it, why do you think that is that way? Do you think it's just an oopsie? This is the fucked up thing about the environment being like that. Ask yourself that question. These private prisons, these people know how to run a prison. They know what a prison is like. They know what to do. Do you think that the fact that these prisons churn out more criminals than rehabilitated members of society, do you think that that's an accident? It's not. It's all part of continuing to feed the beast. In a private prison system, there is absolutely no incentive for a corporation to rehabilitate a prisoner, because that prisoner just is future. It represents an investment. When they're released into the wild, that's a future potential booking that's going to get them paid. Why would they want to send people out and, young men, 18, 20, just getting out of jail, served a 2-year bid? Why would they want to send them out as people that probably aren't going to come back? That'd be like McDonald's telling people at the door, hey, don't ever come here again. But that's the danger when you allow something like prison to be run by a private corporation, is that's exactly how they run it. They run it exactly like a McDonald's. When a prisoner comes into the prison system, they're assigned a number that follows them through their entire life, and that number is tied to a dollar amount. How much money have we been compensated for prisoner number 877-472 or whatever the fuck? And if you get a 2-year bid, the prison gets paid a hefty sum of money for being your custodian. for that 2 years, they send you out a hardened criminal and hope that you come right back, because they can book another 8 years on your ass, make a bunch more money. This is the danger of unchecked capitalism. This is the danger of privatization. This is why there needs to be a centralized authority that handles things that should not be monetized, like prison, healthcare. Those two things for sure. Maybe war. Maybe we could talk about war, demonetizing war. Yeah. Not to mention, how do prisoners make money? Because the state pays the prison system to maintain these prisons. And oftentimes there is a quota based on how full those prisons are. That's how much money the prisons get. Part of the skim goes to paying the staff at the prison, and the rest of it goes to the corporation. Does that make any sense to you? Does that explain it? These private prison companies are paid by taxpayer dollars to maintain these prisons on a per capita basis per prisoner. And then the private company is responsible for carrying out all of the activities inside of that prison. Yeah, prison slave labor, yeah. I mean, it's almost indistinguishable from chattel slavery. So you've got a company that benefits from mass amounts of almost free labor, right? This is a private prison company. They set up workshops under the guise of rehabilitation. They set up workshops and little mini factories in some of these prisons, staff them with workers who make pennies on the dollar, what they would make outside of the prison, and sell the goods, at a premium. And if you take into account all the things I said before about how they have a vested interest in making sure you keep coming back, so they write the laws to make sure you're in longer, that you have to stay longer, it starts to become quite indistinguishable from chattel slavery. Just another way of getting gaffled up. Now the slave ship doesn't pull up to the shore and gaffle up a bunch of tribesmen. Now, one by one, they're plucked out of society for doing some perceived wrong that really did, in a lot of cases, did society absolutely no ill. Placed behind bars for 8 or 10 fucking years and put to work for free, basically. I think major offenders should be forced into unpaid labor. Well, I don't think anybody should be forced into unpaid labor. I think that history has shown time and again, history shows again and again how science points out the folly of man. Godzilla. Ooh. There you go. It's not like cattle. I didn't say cattle slavery. I said chattel slavery. Go look it up, dude. Why are people who talk about ways to make America better often told shit like it or leave it or some shit? Because there's a lot of people who don't want to see the change that have a vested interest in America staying the same because it's familiar to them. I'm for a combination of decriminalization and legalization. I think that some substances should be outright legalized for adult use, taxed and regulated just like alcohol is. And I think that some substances should be illegal to sell and possess, but not criminal to, decriminalized in terms of the outcome. So, rather than taking a junkie off the street and throwing them in jail to detox and then kicking them out in 6 months so they can go get right back on it, somebody like that is taken to a rehab facility, hopefully breaking the cycle. But I think criminalizing these, I guess there are certain drugs where I think it probably makes sense to keep them illegal to sell and trade. Opiates, I think, should be heavily, heavily regulated. I think anybody that's slinging opiates on the fucking street should be picked up and stopped. But I'm for full legalization of pot, LSD, mushrooms, other, substances, other, natural substances, peyote, mescaline. I think that all of those things should be available to any human being that wants to of age, that wants to try out any of those drugs. But I think pernicious drugs like, crack, heroin, meth, I think those drugs should probably remain on the drug war calendar, personally. That's my personal feeling on it. I mean, TJ takes a harder stance on that. He thinks we should just legalize everything and caveat emptor and stuff. But there are some really, really obvious societal ills associated with crack and heroin, a high death rate, a massive rate of young people getting into it. It just doesn't make sense to me for the government to be feeding its own population poison on that level. I know it does it with alcohol already and cigarettes, but we're talking about, the opiate crisis is off the charts. People OD at a rate of 1 per second in this country now. Maybe it's even more. I don't know, man. I'm definitely not for a massive sweep of legalization. I think that the slow pace that legalization is taking now is probably about right. Pretty much every election cycle that goes by, another state goes full rec or medical, at least when it comes to pot. So I think that we're stepping in the right direction, and I think it has to happen that way. There has to be a slow change, because if there's this, all of a sudden, there's government stores in every town selling heroin, it's going to be a fucking nightmare. Maybe down the road, I don't know, 30 or 40 or 50 years or something, we can start talking about a more radical, program of decriminalization of drug use, as long as it's just personal use shit. I don't really understand why a man should be able to stand between you and putting something in your body and making you feel one way or the other. So on a long term, I think it's probably a feasible thing, but in the short term, I don't really support full legalization. Jeff Sessions is really against weed legalization because he gets money from private prisons. Oh, you better believe it, dude. The whole drug war is fueled by lobbying money from private prisons. Not only that, but lobbying money from tobacco companies and alcohol companies that compete for the let's get high market. Dude, the drug war is a joke. It's a fake corporate proxy war meant to literally use people as a cash crop on the corporate level, and it works. It's a system that's in place. Yeah. Well, see, the police are involved directly because the government feeds this corporate need. Because the corporations shower the government officials with money and re-election donations and golf junkets. So it's a vicious circle. Let us farm people for free labor, pay us a bunch of money to house them. Let us continually lobby you for stiffer penalties so you have to send more people to us for longer. And, one hand washes the other. When election time comes around, the Prison Guard Union of America is going to write you a fat check. The Compton Downey Prison Complex Incorporated or whatever the fuck is going to write you a nice fat check. We're going to take you on that golf junket we talked about to Scotland. You ever played on a golf course in Scotland. It's a whole different experience. Just, you know what I mean? These drug dealers, these pushers, these pimps, they got to be off the streets for longer. I mean, you know, they come to us for 2 years, they get out, they get, you know what I mean? They got to learn a lesson. Give them to us for 8 years and make this other thing that you're not sending, you know, no, start sending people to us for marijuana possession. Give them a few years and let's see if they get high afterwards. Huh? Just sign here. Just vote for this bill. We'll take care of you come election time. One hand washes the other. That's our system. Period. How could anybody make an argument for that system being worthwhile or working for the average person? Thoughts on the UN's climate report, Paul? I don't know, man. We talked about it briefly on Flash Fried. There's a clip up where, you know, we're talking about Trump saying the climate is great, and they've been saying this type of shit since I was a kid. Since I was a kid in the 80s, they've been saying that if we don't stop this, we don't have a whole lot of time, and eventually it's going to get so bad that it's kind of like that doomsday clock that's forever, you know, just a few seconds from midnight, and every once in a while it ticks 1 second closer, but there's still like, you know, 2 minutes left or a minute left or something, so they can always just play around, and I don't know, dude. When will you BTFO Worski again? Is he even still doing his thing? I haven't heard anything about Worski. It would be better if proposed an actual solution rather than just try to make money off it. I'm not sure what that was in reference to. If more hardcore drugs were regulated, you wouldn't have illegal dealers trying to push it. I mean, right, but you just have... I mean, then you just have a 7-Eleven on the corner pushing it with signs. I mean, how's that? I mean, like, I understand at least it's regulated commerce at that point, but people are still going to be ODing on this shit constantly. No, I just don't see taking dangerous drugs like that and immediately, you know, legalizing them or whatever the fuck. I just don't see that working, but it'd be better than the failed bullshit we pull now. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Take a look at the darkness for a while. So here's something we haven't done in a while. Let's do a roll call. It's time for a roll call. Where are you from? What area of the world? from U.S. What state? I'm in Louisiana. Hi. Ireland. Oh, hi, laddie. Australia, Michigan. Yeah, roll call, man. Montana, Washington, the Utah. Check it out, man. A lot of North Americans going on here. Rhode Island, Seattle, North Carolina, Australia, San Bernardino, Vegas, Maine, North Korea. Yeah, yeah, cool. Nova Scotia, eh? Yeah, Scotland. Oh, aye, laddie. A true man. A true man. My mom's house? Dude, that's not cool. The Bahamas? Ooh. Bum 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 bum. Welcome, man, to our little island. Whatever you do, don't leave the compound, man. 'Cause if you do, there's hungry thieves out there that'll beat you to death. Alright, man. Bum 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 ba dum ba dum. I see there's like a dude playing the bongos. Stoke, England. Ooh. Are people, dude, Stoke sounds like a place in England where people are really tight asses. Is that the case? It's like, oh, he's from Stoke. Just a total tight ass from Stoke. I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong about that, but it just seems like an area of Great Britain that people would be known for being tight asses in. My mission as one of Paul's noble moderators is to keep TISM levels to an utmost minimum. That's true. That is true. But can you do it on a rainy Wednesday night in Stoke? Dude, my favorite, the town I want to visit most in England, Slough, dude. Yeah, Slough. It's my kind of town, dude. Yeah, dude. The motorway goes by your door, dude. Yeah. I like that song that Ricky Gervais sings about Slough when he's in his office character. If you've never heard it, you should go look it up. It's actually kind of a cool song. It's a pretty song despite being pretty funny. I think you did it right, Doom Kid. I think that's Slough. Anybody from Bisbee, Arizona? No. I lived in Arizona for a while, though, man. It was a crazy time in my life. I lived in Phoenix for a little while, and then I lived in Chandler for a long while, and then briefly lived in Mesa, I want to say. I think I also briefly lived in Tempe. Kind of moved all over the place in Arizona, but... Arizona. Stoke is relatively close to Birmingham, but we don't have the accent. Oh. Dude, Arizona is beautiful, man. It is, the desert is really, really pretty, and it's really, like, it's got its whole character to it. It's pretty hot, but Arizona's pretty awesome. I like Arizona. Where do you stand on BetterHelp situation? I think I talked about it pretty extensively. I think the company should vet people, but I think that anybody that's using BetterHelp having a kind of shady TOS to try and destroy the career of some YouTuber because they sold an ad spot for them is just fucking retarded, witch huntery, outrage culture nonsense. And anybody engaging in it is at least as bad in my mind as BetterHelp for not vetting their fucking psychiatric treatment guys. That's where I stand on I once lived in Yellowknife. That's the only place in Canada that actually sounds like what Americans think all of Canada is like. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a picture of Canada in my mind, honestly. I mean, I've got some cliches and a few very scattered memories of looking at pictures of big cities in Canada and stuff. But I've never been. I don't know what the people from there live like, or, you know, what the cultural norms are from place to place. Yeah, snow, mooses, guys wearing flannel and like floppy hats with the ear warmers, um, rubber boots everywhere because it's always slushy, you know what I mean? Moose hunter. Yeah, they got a gun, but not to protect themselves because they like to, you know, when moose hunting season comes, they like to go bag a big moose. Maple syrup, French fries with gravy on it. We're about the same, regional dialects and colloquial differences aside, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess that maybe that's why I've never been so hot to trot to go to Canada. No offense to Canadians, but it seems like kind of a boring foreign country to travel to. You know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, I feel like I'd go to Canada and I'd be like, oh, it's pretty much like 85% America over here. Oh, okay. Well, that sucks. Paul, when you die, I'll be sad. Um, well, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about it because I'm going to outlive you. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's always hard to tell a young person they're going to die young, but you'll never have to experience the loss of me dying. It's a good trade-off, huh? Imagine in 30 years, the younger generation might be fighting big weed corporations. No, they're going to be fighting Disney. That'll be the villain in 40 years. Whoever the young people are in 40 years will be fighting Disney as it gobbles up everything around it like a vacuum cleaner. So I had a chance to get this girl's number, but her dad got in the fucking way of my chance. What are your thoughts? What should I have done? You should have been a man and been like, excuse me, sir. I think your daughter's awful pretty and I'd like to have her number and take her out on a nice date one of these nights. Do you think I'd be all right if I asked if she'd like to do that? And then the dad's going to look at you and say, why, sure, son. And then you say, hello, Katie. Would you like to go to the movies with me on Saturday night? She'll say, yep. And you'd be like, all right. There you go. Nah, man, you guys don't understand, man. The girlfriend's dad, you gotta treat that with kid gloves, man. You gotta treat it with kid gloves. Because let me tell you something, man. It is no fun thing to be with a woman whose father hates you. And trust me, I have extensive experience in this. Extensive. The girl that I dated on and off through high school, her dad fucking hated me. Absolutely hated me. Until years after. After I'd, like it'd been years, he came into a Starbucks I was working at in Fresno and started talking to me. And he was like, man, I'm sorry I treated you so bad back then. Truth of the matter is, Tammy probably been pretty better off with you than some of these other dudes you date. And I was like, oh, well, thanks for that, man. His name was Paul, too, so we got along after that. But while I was seeing his daughter, man, no. And my ex-wife's dad, that's, he didn't like me either. Both of them probably for the same reason, just because of the way I look, the way I keep myself. I don't talk like a young farming apprentice or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like those guys that grew up around that area, which both of those men did, want a young man to be clean cut and hard working and, have a pair of work gloves in the back pocket of his rough and tumble jeans and shit. You know what I mean? And I was like in high school, I had piercings and, wore stupid rock band t-shirts and baggy clothes and shit. I didn't look anything like the type of dude her dad wanted her to be with. Yeah, I'm a fat hippie, exactly. And then this, the same thing with my ex-wife's dad. She was, or he was a fucking, he took one look at me and was like, no way. No way. But whatever, is what it is. I guess he was right. Do you miss being married? Not one bit. Haven't you admitted to cheating on every girlfriend that you've ever had? I don't know that I've cheated on every girl. I mean, look, dude, for me, I don't know, dude. Maybe. Possibly. Sure. How do you keep the label from falling off the peanut butter jar? I don't know. How'd you meet your ex-wife? We worked in the same strip mall. I was working at a Starbucks and she worked at a sandwich shop. Watching porn is cheating. Oh, okay. I need to go fill my vape, dude. It's vape filling time. 1, 2, 3. Fill the vape. Getting over a cold. Yeah, I know that feel. What's the girl to guy contrast in your sex life? I mean, if you don't count stuff I did when I was real young, then I've never been with a dude as an adult. I've fooled around a few times here and there, but never gone the full distance. So that's the ratio. What's the 5-10? What's a 5 out of 10 movie for you, and what would be a 9 out of 10 movie for you? Do you want me to just name movies that I think fit that? Like a 5 out of 10 movie should be a movie that leaves that is forgettable, was entertaining maybe in a small way while you were there. Just the baseline that it takes to fit. It's to justify the expensive time and money that it took to watch it. A 5 out of 10 movie is totally forgotten as soon as you leave the theater almost. It doesn't leave any lasting impression or desire to see more. A 9 out of 10 movie would be a movie that's almost flawless. If you want to give you an idea, Night of the Demons from the 80s. I think it's from 1983 or 4 or something. That's a 5 out of 10 movie. And I don't know, what's one of the Mother, I would say is a 9 out of 10 movie for me. A 2 out of 10 movie is basically a handy cam footage film, like like the Evil Cat or something. You know what I mean? But even I'd hesitate to give the Evil Cat 2 out of 10. I think that it's a little better than that. I'd give it maybe a 3. You know, I just hate doing these rating systems though, because they're so arbitrary and they're so stupid because they require me to have like this encyclopedic knowledge of every movie that I've ever seen and how it rates in relation to every other movie. It's just a stupid thing to ask. I don't like doing the whole, you know, for me, it's always about a baseline. Either it's worth your time or it ain't. I know. I'm not trying to yap at you for it. I'm just talking about it. The Revenant, 9 out of 10. I liked The Revenant. I actually watched The Revenant on an airplane. I watched The Revenant when I was flying for the first time from Texas to Washington to chill at the studio with the guys for the first time. And no, I think it was to Ohio for the first time to chill. Yeah, that's what it was. I paid $2.99 or whatever and bought the movie package on my phone, and I just sat there and watched The Revenant. Yeah, I've only seen it on my phone, so maybe I should watch it again on a bigger screen. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was a good movie. I've seen the extended edition of Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah, it's okay. I have rewatched Mother once, and I really liked it again. It's a movie that I see. It's available right now, I think on Amazon Prime or some shit. So I'll see it and I'll go like, oh, do I want to fucking go down that rabbit hole again? It's not that it's not an enjoyable film, but I just have to space it out a little bit. Ever seen The Witch? It's really good, yes. That's one of my favorite movies in recent memory. I really liked the way that they pulled most of the dialogue from the film from these witch trials, like actual, you know, as much as they could, pulled it from literature and stuff from the actual period. I loved how it was an expectation-defying horror film that was less about showing you all the gore and violence and salaciousness and allowing the psychology to kind of sink in. I really like slow burn movies, so there are people that get really bored and tune out of a slow burn film. I really love a slow burn movie that has a good payoff, and I think that it fits that bill. I love a movie that leaves me wanting more of it when it ends and invites me to speculate about it, and The Witch is all of those things as well. I really liked A Quiet Place. I also think that seeing it in the theaters, while I thought it was going to be a detriment, was actually a really unique experience because I went a little later in its run, so there were fewer people in there, but everybody in the theater seemed to know the deal. And it made the kind of eerie quietness of the movie even more compound when you're sitting in a room kind of full with people that are all trying to be as quiet as possible. So, but I thought the movie was really smart. I thought it was one of those experience films that found a way to draw the audience into it, which is really neat to see movies that have that design element of communal watching, you know. Green Room by Jeremy Saulnier is a very interesting. I reviewed Green Room. I didn't like it all that much. I found it to be a little bit tedious. There were some really good performances in it, but I found the glaring plot holes and strangenesses to be, I don't know, almost unforgivable. So I had a hard time getting through it. It was pretty gory. I liked that about it, so kudos to it for that, I guess. I've seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, yes. I mean, I don't know, dude. I thought look, dude, a great movie. You're either one of those people that thinks that great movie is reserved for The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 and Gone with the Wind and, you know what I mean, all these. Or you're the type of person that, you know, thinks a great movie can be not the greatest movie. I call movies great all the time that probably aren't great in terms of historical remembrance, but I thought that they were a great time. That's how I use the word great. And, for me, I'd say it's pretty easy to say I had a great time watching and experiencing A Quiet Place. So I've never seen the Han Solo movie. I do like Natural Born Killers. Yes, I do. I saw Gone with the Wind for the first time a few months ago. I thought it was honestly pretty boring. Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I said, it's a slow burn film. It's also an every frame a painting type of film. So if you're the type of person that really enjoys super sumptuous cinematography, say that 3 times fast. Super sumptuous cinematography. Super sumptuous. Blah, 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 blah. But if you're that type of person, and I happen to be one of those people, I really enjoy the stark beauty of really carefully considered shots and interesting uses of depth of field and just really carefully considered film shots are always a joy to look at for me. So, I saw the scene where she shoots the military guy in the face when younger, and it stuck with me. Yeah. Citizen Cage was garbage. Citizen Kane was garbage. Once again, I agree to disagree. It fits the bill that I just talked about of being just an absolutely triumphant masterpiece of the genre at that time. It defied all expectations and inspired countless films to follow it. All of these rise and fall films, right, where somebody starts with nothing and gets everything and then loses it all, they all are trying to be Citizen Kane. It was like the Rosetta Stone for that genre of film. Donnie Darko is underrated. Agree or disagree? Disagree. I actually think it's overrated. The fact that I still hear people talking about Donnie Darko to this day, I think is a vast overestimation of its worth as a film. I don't really like it. I didn't like it. I avoided seeing it for a long time because I had a bunch of friends that were like, dude, you gotta see this movie, you gotta see this movie. And then I finally sat down and watched it, and my honest appraisal of it was that I was bored by most of it, and that I felt like it was overly arcane and weird and at times, and I don't know, I just didn't get it. I didn't sync up with the performances. I didn't enjoy the movie. And I've seen it a few times afterwards, and I always feel the same way about it. I always end up feeling slightly bored, non-committal, just kind of meh. I hate Kubrick's The Shining. I prefer poorly acted TV version. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, whatever. You like what you like. For me, the Kubrick Shining is one of the great masterpieces that I've ever seen. I have seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, yes. I mean, Jack Nicholson has been in so many movies that he's elevated to the point, like, if you've never seen it, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is just an absolute triumphant masterpiece. R.P. McMurphy. I mean, he's just amazing. As a young man, he just elevated everything he touched. And still, as an older guy, he's got that certain something. Full Metal Jacket, one of my favorite films of all time, too. I don't know. I love all of Kubrick's work, except for Eyes Wide Shut, which to me is, not great. A post-apocalypse movie? Sure. Watch A Boy and His Dog. And be prepared to be surprised and delighted if you've never seen it. Are you a David Lynch fan? Yes. I love David Lynch. Does AI count as a Kubrick film? No, not really. It's more of a Spielberg movie. I really like AI though, and I feel like you can feel the fingerprints of Stanley Kubrick on AI. But it's pretty solidly a Spielberg joint in my mind. I can't watch movies with dogs that die. This is not that kind of movie, but go ahead and avoid it if you want. The Beach, what a disaster of a film. It starts out amazing, then oh, okay, all right, right. You're thinking of a different movie. There is a movie that I have burned into my mind that I wish I could get out, guys. But I think you should all see it because it's an interesting movie. But I think you should all be warned that it's horrible. It's called Beaches. And it has Bette Midler in it and some other girl that was very popular in the 80s, but that you don't see very much anymore. And it's dotted with these really weird dystopian musical acts that the Bette Midler character gets involved in. One of them I'll never forget. Like, I'll know the lyrics to it for the rest of my fucking life, dude. Because it was just a movie that we had on VHS laying around, and I really liked the visual elements of those parts, so I would watch the whole movie because of that. Yeah, Barbara Hershey, there you go. She's in that. Beaches. Sing it. All right, dude, it goes like, I am the captain, and this is my shrine, Lord of the manor. See what I leave behind. Rivers in flames, cities on fire. Yes, I'm a relic trapped in the wire. Hydrogen fuel, boom, boom. It burns so clean. It throbs in the veins of my beloved machine. She is my wife, her mechanical heart, constantly serving till death do us part. Blah, blah, blah. It goes on. It's a great song. It's a really dystopian, pessimistic kind of blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's kind of goofy, you know, but you got to keep in mind it's an 80s movie. But the lyrics to that always, like, I was just like, whoa. Immediately my little brain was like, and I'd be a liar if I said it. I don't think about it a lot, and that it probably had a lot of influence on me. It's a song called Oh Industry. You can look it up if you want, if you don't want to watch the whole movie. The name of the song is Oh Industry. Sarah's laughing. She must have looked it up, dude. Favorite Coen Brothers film? I mean, it's hard for me to not choose The Big Lebowski. Such an influential film on me. So, thoughts on Gummo? Hard to watch. Titanic was boring. I disagree. I mean, it wasn't boring. It was shitty, but it wasn't boring. I've seen Spirited Away, yes. Sharknado, oh yeah, changed my life, man. Changed my life. Worst male actor? Worst, huh? Who do I just hate seeing in movies? I'm starting to hate Ryan Reynolds. I'm starting to hate looking at him. I'm starting to hate seeing him. I'm starting to hate his Ryan Reynolds-ness. It's starting to get under my skin. I don't know. Say what you want about the guy, but I'm starting to get tired of his, yeah, I think so. That he just does his Ryan Reynolds-ness, dude. His Ryan Reynolds-ness is too much. I don't know, dude. I'd hesitate to say Jared Leto because, like, he's been really good in a few things. So every once in a while you run across a Jared Leto role that you're like, oh, okay. He does have some talent. My favorite Jared Leto performance is in fucking Requiem for a Dream. That talented dude. I hate seeing Leonardo DiCaprio. He's an overrated hack. Okay, dude. Leonardo DiCaprio is legit, dude. He's legitimate. The guy's a good actor. You can't take that from him, man. He's been a fucking amazing actor since he was like a teenager. Since well after your age to legend, he was already making Oscar-nominated films. So I wouldn't, you know what I mean? I wouldn't shit on him too hard. How do you feel about Nicolas Cage? I really like Nicolas Cage. He's kind of a fearless dude, and I like that. He's got that same kind of thing about him, though, where he brings a little bit of Nick Cage to every performance. But for me, it doesn't annoy me in the same way that the Ryan, what's his name, Ryan Reynolds annoys me. Yeah, dude, I'm ready for another national. I like the National Treasure movies, dude. They're absurd, but they're kind of fun little caper flicks, dude. I liked the first two. I don't care what anybody says. Nick Cage is fun to watch, man. Say what you want. He's fun to watch. He always has been fun to watch. Nick Cage is charming, but he's kind of a shit actor. See, I don't think you can say that. I don't think that you can watch a movie like Adaptation and tell me that Nick Cage is a terrible shit actor and then have me not look you in the face and laugh. That's a fucking fantastic movie, and it's absolutely carried by his performance as Charlie Kaufman and his brother. Absolutely carried. So you can't look at me in the face. There's other movies where I think Nick Cage has just been standout amazing. Leaving Las Vegas is another one. Con Air is a movie where his accent is horrible, but his presence is amazing. Nick Cage is great, man. Bringing Out the Dead, yeah, that's true. That's another really dark movie. 8mm, I liked that movie as well. He's really prolific. He's in a lot of shit. He's in a lot of movies. I've seen Fallen. It's whatever, I like it. Isn't Fallen the Time Is on My Side one? Or is that something else I'm thinking of? No, that one has Denzel in it. Which one is the one where the demon keeps singing "Time is on my side" and it like jumps from person to person and keeps singing it? Anybody remember what I'm talking about? I think it's got Denzel Washington in it. Yeah, that's not a Nick Cage movie. Lord of War, yeah, is pretty decent. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Fallen is Denzel, yeah. Is there any movie where the devil is played sympathetically? No, I mean, I've talked about that before. I would love to see one of these like 300 style action spectacle films about Lucifer's rebellion in heaven, where Lucifer is the sympathetic protagonist and God is the evil, oppressive powers that be. I think it'd be pretty fucking amazing, dude. How old were you when you saw Taxi Driver? I saw Taxi Driver my freshman year in high school, pretty early on. The girl that I was all head over heels for in high school was super into Robert De Niro. So I watched pretty much every De Niro movie ever with her. She showed me Taxi Driver for the first time, and I fucking loved it. One of my favorite movies of all time. XD. XD. Same, except it wasn't a girl. Oh, shit. Found the homo. Ever seen Sucker Punch? No. My favorite Mr. Bean film. I like just the old shorts, dude, but I do like, I gotta be honest with you, man, and this is gonna be fucking blasphemy, but I like that first Mr. Bean film where he's in charge of Whistler's mother, the painting. Somehow he ends up in charge of Whistler's mother and all the shenanigans surrounding that. I can get with that Mr. Bean movie. Yeah, dude. I like that. And I like all the old shorts. I like all the old Curse of Mr. Bean shorts that start with him like being beamed down by the alien or whatever the fuck. The choir music. But yeah, I like that first Mr. Bean movie where he drives his friend. And then he gives like that speech at the end. He's all like, "What I've learned from staying with my best friend, David, and his family, is that family is very important." Be like, "Oh, Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean." I love The Descent, man. I love everything about The Descent except for the fake out ending thing. I thought that was kind of unnecessary and stupid, but I really thought The Descent was great. Claustrophobic, scary. Hello. You know, at that point, I'd never seen Mr. Bean talk. Like, he always talked in the shorts. Like, he'd say little things like, "Chomp," or, you know, "Teddy," or whatever the fuck. But he was always, you know, very commedia dell'arte, so almost a mime in the sense of how he delivered his comedy. So I liked that little moment in that movie where Mr. Bean gives a full speech, you know. Yeah, Bean does kind of have a Yoda-ish quality to his voice. It's the same, like, you got to do the same thing vocally to do it. Yoda, you've got to go into that, like, I don't know what you call it, that glottal. You got to let it go. And Bean is kind of the same thing. "Oh yes, well, going to the shops." You know, you got to let your voice kind of come from that same place to do it. There's like a channel that I think it's, you know, an official Mr. Bean YouTube channel or whatever that streams 24 hours a day, and it's like old Mr. Bean skits and clips from his movies and stuff. And I was in there watching some the other day, and I noticed the chat, and it's almost all Arabic people. Like, it's like 90% just Arabic stuff going by in the chat. So apparently the Arab world real big on Mr. Bean, which gives me some hope for the future. Mr. Bean bridging the cultural divide, dude. I'm Bean. Yeah, Mr. Bean is good, wholesome fun. Not always super wholesome. He is a little mischievous and a little risque sometimes, but I like Bean. Why do Arabs type in cursive? I don't know, man. Do you think that The Room was made to be so bad it's good, or was it literally really a golden accident? No, The Room was, like, I don't know, dude. I don't think anybody can claim to understand Tommy Wiseau. Who knows what he's pulling. When I went to London, it was nothing but Arabs. Oh no, Dick Johnson. Oh no. Who was the British perv that chased women around and fast forward? I don't know. I have seen the Dick Cheney trailer. I mean, I don't know. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. Looks like it's going to be pretty good. Downtown San Antonio has a bunch of Arabs. Oh boy. Here we go, dude. Now we're gonna get to hear whose part of the world has a lot of Arabs in it. Great. It's that time of the night. Rowan Atkinson hates his Mr. Bean character. His entire career shadowed by Mr. Bean. I mean, I know. When you create a character like that, it's going to happen. But he doesn't hate it enough to not continue doing things. Because on that YouTube channel, there's obviously relatively recent footage of him doing new Bean skits and shit. And little, stingers and stuff. So he doesn't hate it enough to stop making money on it. It will be better than Gotti, the John Travolta movie. Oh my God, dude. I sat down, I shit you not, dude. This happens to me a lot. I can't sleep a lot at night. So sometimes I'll wind down with a movie. I'm flipping through endlessly on fucking Amazon Prime, Netflix. I'm not finding anything. Then all of a sudden I land on Gotti. And it's this absurd picture of, fucking John Travolta all made up like John Gotti and shit, but he looks nothing like John Gotti. He just looks like John Travolta. And I watched, I don't know how much of it, like maybe half an hour of it, and I was like, whoa, this is legitimately a bad film, like on every level. This performance, like his performance as John Gotti was so, like, I feel like it was even worse because I'd just come off of watching the entire 8 seasons or whatever it is of The Sopranos, where these very, very, like, over-the-top Italian mobster kind of characters were played with aplomb, but it felt like a real world because the fucking, I don't know, the performances were researched and based somewhat in reality. They felt, most of the time at least, a little real. This was just such a fake fucking cash-in job. He was basically playing Tony Soprano as John Gotti. You can tell he watched a lot of fucking Tony Soprano for this, this role. It was awful. It was just real bad. I should go in and try and fucking finish that movie sometime, because I'm sure it just stays bad all the way through, and I've got a taste for that kind of stuff. It helped me get sleepy. I'll give it that much. Travolta is still a Scientologist, yeah. There are rumors that he's a reluctant Scientologist, because he's kind of taken a step out of the public eye when it comes to church affairs and stuff. He's no longer a go-to kind of guy for that. He used to be pretty free and open about talking about his religion, and it's been a very long time since he's done that. So there's a lot of people that speculate he may want to leave the religion, but he's afraid to because they've got files on him going back to the 60s when he joined the religion, and all those confessional things that you say to your Scientology auditor that are supposed to be private are all logged. So he's afraid that somebody's going to tell all his deep dark secrets, whatever they might be. There's been speculation for a long time that Travolta's gay, so maybe he's a gay dude that doesn't want to be outed. Whatever it is, and that's all just speculation. These people, like, they don't talk about that type of shit, so. Cruz is, the same thing. I think that Cruz has gotten disillusioned with the church. I mean, this is all speculation, too. But they keep him happy, but only just, I think. Travolta shagged Tom Cruise's tight arsehole. Did he know? Isn't that fantastic? Ooh. I like this. This is nice. Oh yeah, this looks very Santa-like. I hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring ting tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. All right, honey, come on home. Bring me a chai, please, if you can. If you can't, oh well, I'll still love you. I'll still love you no matter what. Will I cook for you again? I don't know. Next time I cook, I'll see about setting up a stream. I'm gonna have to try and figure out something a little better with that arm though, because nah, man. All right, I'm done looking at this. What else do we have? Got all kinds of stuff. What's this? YouTube Fan Fest. Why would anybody want to use this ever? I want this one. That one's kind of cool. That one's kind of neat. Well, anyway, it's enough playing around with that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and